Hello, hello, FSRC. This is Travis Chillemi from Blooming Sales Tupperware. How are you? Um, if you've attended some of our other tech boot camps, this is week number 3. Today we're going to be talking about Google Calendar. It's one of my favorite topics. I don't think it's as exciting as Google Contacts, but I think it's definitely a good opportunity to learn some skills to help you be a little more efficient with calendars and tasks and those sort of things. But first of all, I'm going to give a couple minutes for people to get on, but I did want to announce a couple of things. My apologies for technical issues last week. Hopefully, we are going to have a better connection this week. Even the tech nerd guy, we run into issues from time to time. So hopefully, our internet access on this side of the house is a little bit better this time. What we didn't get to do last week was, first of all, to announce the winner of our first week challenge. So the first week we did Google Contacts, and I threw a challenge out to you all related to Google Contacts, and we had a number of you submit for that challenge. And so what I wanted to do is first show what the winner is going to receive. We've got this Tupperware branded auxiliary battery pack, right? So you've got this is for quick charging a cell phone or a tablet, those sort of things. And so it's just nice to have these, throw it in your purse or throw it in the car, or when you're traveling in particular, you can quick charge it. So it's a Tupperware branded one. And so I'm going to drop this in the mail and send it to our week 1 winner, who was Connie Welcher. So Connie, congratulations. Thank you for participating in the weekly challenge. So that was a lot of fun to see you guys actually putting in Google Contacts and starting that process. The second thing I wanted to do, and I'll post about this on FSRC later, last week we did not announce what the challenge would be for week 2. So I want to go ahead and get that out of the way here at the beginning. So the challenge for week 2, as you may know, hopefully you know, week 2 was Facebook. So we talked about Facebook and how to use Facebook for your business. And so the challenge I'm going to do is, for that is I want you to take a screenshot of when you went live for your business. So take a screenshot of when you went live for your business, your Tupperware business. And what you're going to do is you're going to post a screenshot of that to me. And I will enter you into the drawing for this, or for week 2 challenge. I should also mention, I forgot to, that in addition to this battery charger thing, Connie's also getting the $10 gift card. So that'll be coming in the mail as well. So first week challenge is over. Second week challenge is starting a little late. We're actually going to have week 2 and week 3 run at the same time as far as challenges go. So a screenshot of when you went live for your Tupperware business and on Facebook, because I think that's one of the best ways that you can communicate regarding your business. So I think, does that take care of all the paperwork stuff? I believe it does. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to dig into talking about Google Calendar. So Google Calendar, why do I love Google Calendar? Well, let's take a step back and talk about why I love online calendars in the first place, or digital calendars. And it's interesting because it's a point of contention within our marriage. My wife is definitely more of a paper calendar type of person. I'm definitely more of a digital calendar type of person. But what we've come to realize as we've worked this together is that both of them have very, very strong advantages, and both of them have disadvantages. So I'm going to talk just a couple minutes about some of those. She's a big user of her Passion Planner. I know a lot of people are advocates of the Passion Planner. I think the Passion Planner is great. I think it's a great tool for planning your business. I think it's a great tool for keeping track of certain things. And I know those that really, really use them are very, very, it's like you couldn't, pull it out of their hands. And But there are some disadvantages to it. A paper-based calendar cannot remind you of things on your smartphone. And as many of you know, I am a big proponent of leveraging the power of smartphones in your business. And so you're not going to have a paper-based calendar that's going to give you a notification that says, "Hey, don't forget to go do this." So that is one disadvantage. Another disadvantage is they're not very shareable. We have several Google calendars that we use for our business and for our personal lives and for our kids' personal lives. And it's nice to be able to share those calendars very easily and efficiently with other people. And so a paper-based calendar generally is sort of for one person. Which can be a benefit as well. Sometimes it's nice to just be focused on just what you have to do. The last thing, as far as I think is a disadvantage, is you losing a paper calendar or forgetting it somewhere, that sort of thing. I think is a significant disadvantage. The fact that Google Calendar is stored in the cloud, anything I put in there is automatically backed up. So if I lose my phone or my laptop, I spill coffee on my laptop and it shorts out or whatever, I'm going to have access to all of that data when I set up the new computer or I set up the new phone, or if I borrow a computer from someone or anything along those lines. Versus, if you lose your paper calendar, you're kind of screwed. You won't have access to that and information anymore. And so having that backup, I think, is important. Now, my wife, she's managed to really find a good balance between using both, and she does. She uses both the Google Calendar and she uses her Passion Planner to run her business. And so if you have questions about sort of reconciling those sort of things, you're going to want to talk to her about that or message her about that or leave comments about that because I don't use a paper-based calendar. I'm all digital 24/7. So with that in mind, what I want to go ahead and do is give you a quick tour of Google Calendar, and in particular, some of the things that I think can help you with your business. Before I do that, are there any questions thus far that you haven't answered, Ben? She has headphones on, so I don't think she can hear me. Any questions? No? Okay. All right, so let's dig into this. So, as you can see here, I'm looking at Google Calendar, and the URL for Google Calendar is calendar.google.com. And one of the first things right out of the box that I love about Google Calendar is if you have an Android device, you're already likely using Google Calendar and you may not even realize it if you use the Android device's built-in calendar system. So you may be using this already without even knowing it. The very first thing that I love about Google Calendar is it's actually multiple calendars. So what I'm looking at right now is a calendar interface here. And if I come up here on the top, I can click on different views. So I can select, do I want to see a weekly view, a daily view? So if I click on daily view, I'm going to get an hour by hour breakdown. I can click on a monthly view and I can see here's an entire month worth of stuff. I can look at a yearly view and so all of this data all stored online in the cloud, and I can look at multiple different views. I really, really like the 2-week view. When I click on the 2-week view, this gives me sort of, this week and next week. And oftentimes that's the way I particularly think, is finishing out this week and then looking ahead to next week. So I really like the 2-week view for that. That's essentially the process for switching views. Again, all of this is the same data. In a paper-based calendar, if you had a weekly view, you would write things in the weekly view, but they're not going to show up when you look at the monthly view or show up if you look at the daily view. And so it's one of the advantages to a digital calendar is once you put that event into your calendar, it's going to show up in all of the different views. Another advantage to digital calendar, and particularly Google Calendar, is I can have multiple calendars. So you can see here, I have this calendar selected over here on the left. This is the Travis Chalemi calendar. Okay, so the things I have in this particular calendar are things that only I'm responsible for. These are things that have nothing to do with our business. These are almost like personal things for me. Then we have the Angie Chalemi calendar. And what this is this is our sort of business calendar. For our Blooming Sales company, some of the items there. So if I turn that on, you can see there's recruiting calls and hair appointments and volunteering at the kids' schools, and all of those sort of things are going to be in that particular calendar. Then we have some other calendars. We have a meal planning calendar here. And on the meal planning calendar is, as you could imagine, meal planning. We have a calendar down here for our daughter's school. This is events at the school, so I can put that into it. So you can see, as I come in here and I turn all these calendars on, it can very quickly, you can see, boy, we're really busy. We have a lot of things going on, as most everybody does. But what I like about this is when I turn all of these on, is I can see very quickly when I have availability. Right? And so if I turn all these calendars on and somebody says, hey, I need to sit down and schedule some time with you, what works? I typically have all of these calendars turned on, and then I could say, look, you know what? Thursday, I have a pretty wide open time on Thursday where I can sit down with you and talk about maybe it's onboarding a recruit, maybe it's planning for an open house, planning a bingo or a something like that. So it's very easily, I can get all of my data here to look at and make a decision based on that. So I really, really like the ability to do this. So each calendar here, it's easy to add a calendar. You just click on this little plus sign here, and I'm going to say add a new calendar. And I'm going to give this calendar a name. I'm just going to call this my test calendar. All right, and you put a description into here if you want to. You can change the time zone if you want to, and I am the owner. You can see I'm the owner there. Oop, this is Ted, so let's change this to test. I'm going to create that calendar. Now, when I create that calendar, it's going to think for a second. Hopefully, it doesn't think too long. Okay, so now we've test calendar successfully created. And you can see over here, here's my test calendar. It's at the bottom of my calendars here. So it's created a brand new calendar. Now, what I can do for this calendar is, first of all, I can just turn it off and on if I just don't want to see it on my display here. I can, turn it off and on to hide it. I can delete it by Xing this and unsubscribing from that calendar. One of the things that I often do, and that I wanted to show you how to do, is if you click these three dots here, and I can change the color for this calendar. This is really nice because, as you can see, we've kind of got a color scheme going on over here. And so, I might want to say, all right, well, I don't want this to be orange because that looks too similar to the meal planning calendar. So let's come in here. Let's maybe make this, I don't know, graphite. So I can choose graphite here. Now, when I add items to this page, they're going to show up in gray, which is very, very handy. So let's go ahead and add something to the calendar. So let's pretend that, like I said, I have a lot of availability tomorrow, and somebody says, hey, I'd like to sit down with you. Let's have some coffee. So there's a couple different ways you can add stuff to the calendar. You can click on this plus sign that's down here in the bottom right to create an event. Usually what I do, though, is I just come up here and I click on generally the time that I want it to happen. And so when I click in that block, it's essentially going to say, oh, you probably want to add a date, an event there. And I'm going to say, yeah, I do. I want to add, coffee with Barb. She's a new recruit, let's say, something along those lines. All right, by default, it's going to give me a 1 hour meeting. And by default, it's going to select my personal calendar. Now, I don't want this to be my personal calendar. I want to put this in the test calendar. So when I hit this drop down, you'll see I have all the calendars I have access to edit are in this list. So I'm going to say, okay, that's going to go in the test calendar. And it's from 9 to 10, so that's fine. However, I want to do some other stuff here. I want to set a reminder so I don't forget to show up to this. So like in most Google software, this is what I love about Google tools, is generally speaking, they give you what most people need. Most of the time when you create an event, you need to know when it is, and you need to know what calendar to put it in, and what the event is called. Then anything else you need, you just hit more options. So I click on more options, and then I'm taken to this new screen here where I can do a lot of different things. I can say, this is from 9 to 10. Maybe coffee, Barb and I have coffee every week. So I can click on this repeat, and I can say I want to do it weekly on Thursday, or I want to do monthly on the second Thursday, or annually every year on November 8th we have coffee. Whatever it is you want to do, you can pick some of these, or you can click on custom. And when you select custom, you have a whole bunch of complicated recurrence sort of settings you can have to say, I want to do this every Monday and Tuesday and Friday on this, except for this, and but skip this week. So there's a lot of different things you can do in the custom recurrence when you add an event. Additionally, you can add a location. This is super handy. If you put an address in there, since it's Google, it's going to connect that with Google Maps. And so when you pull this event open on your smartphone, you're going to be able to get driving directions to get there. So that's super handy. In particular, if you get those driving directions and it's telling you, oh my gosh, there's a lot of traffic problems. Excuse me, you're going to be running late. That's handy information to have. The thing I use a lot for is notifications. I can say I want to add a notification. I want you to remind me. Let's say I want you to send a text message to me 30 minutes beforehand. So I'll get a notification via text message. Hey, you've got this thing, this coffee with Barb coming up beforehand. Or I can set it to send me an email. Send an email 30 minutes before, reminding me that I have this, or I can just have it be a notification on my smartphone. I usually set it to notification. What I like about this though is I like to have like the, hey, 30 minutes, this is like the get in the car notification, but I'm going to add another notification. I'm going to set this like 2 hours in advance. This is like the, hey, you have to get up and take a shower and put pants on notification, right? So it's nice to have multiple notifications for an event, because how many of us hit snooze, right? You get a notification, you're like, oh yeah, I'll do that, and then you forget, and then you're late or whatever. So the ability to create additional notifications is super, super handy for an event that you add to the calendar. Additional thing you can put in the description here, usually the title is enough to remind me of what's going on, but maybe I want to put a description in there. I met Barb at this particular place, whatever it might be. You can put a description into there. I'll put some garbledy-gook in here. And I've got this in the test calendar here. So that's generally, when I'm adding an event to a calendar, those are the sort of things that I typically do. Now, another thing you can do is there's this whole section over here where you can add a guest. Now, what's nice about adding a guest is maybe I want to send this to Barb and give her this information so she can add it to her calendar. Now, even if she doesn't add this to her calendar, maybe she doesn't use Google Calendar, maybe she uses Outlook Calendar, maybe she uses a paper-based calendar, I typically add them as a guest, and here's why. So if I add a person that's a guest, I'm going to add my wife to this. Ooh, I can't spell, or I can't type, I should say. I'm going to add her to this. Now, why would I necessarily want to do this? I would want to do this because I want to be able, if I move this event in my calendar, so I'm going to save this. Would you like to send invitation emails to all of the guests? Of course I would. I want to let her know, hey, I'm inviting you to this coffee with Barb. She's a new recruit. I'm inviting you to that. All right, so you can see here in my calendar, there it is. Coffee with Barb, new recruit, tomorrow from 9 to 10. So let's say something happens. Barb calls, and she says, I can't do 9 o'clock. I thought I could do 9 o'clock, but it turns out I have a doctor's appointment. I need to move that to 10 o'clock. Then I can say, all right, well, let's go ahead and do it at 10 o'clock. I'm going to move this event. I can just drag it here if I wanted to. I could just drag it. Or I can click on it, and it's going to open this panel here, where it's going to show me, look at this. I typed the word coffee in, and Google's already given me little graphics that say it's coffee. I didn't even have to do that. We love you, Google. That's really cool. And so I can see everything here, and I say, you know what? I need to change this. She moved this. Now, like I said, I usually just drag it, but if you want to, you can come into here, and you just click on Edit Event. And it's going to take us right back to the screen. We've seen this before. And I'm going to say, okay, she said she couldn't do 9. She can only do 10 o'clock. So I'm going to switch it to 10, and I'm going to save this. And it's going to say, hey, wait a second. Do you want to send an update email to your guests? And I say, yes, I do, because Angie needs to know that this isn't at 9. This is at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to type in here, Barb had to move the coffee meeting. And I'm going to send that. Now, she's going to get an email that says, hey, that meeting that you thought was at 9, it's at 10 o'clock. Okay, so right off the bat, we have this ability to communicate with multiple people, to keep things in order, and to have nothing be permanent. Because how many of us move meetings, move events, move parties, we tend to do that a lot, and doing it in this digital format really makes that a lot easier. So that's the general process for adding events to a calendar. Now, let's say you go through this and we have like all of these things in our calendar, and we say, you know what, I forgot when. Let's pretend that I'm looking over here in October, I know I have coffee with Barb. I don't remember when it was. All right, let's just pretend here for a minute. And I'm like looking at all this stuff, and I'm like, where is that event that I have? I'm supposed to have coffee with Barb. I don't remember what it is or when it is. Up here on the top, there's this great search, right? Google started as a search company, so they have amazing search. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to say, I just know it's coffee with Barb. What happens if I just type in Barb? What's going to happen? Look at that. I type in Barb, and it says, hey, here's an event, coffee with Barb. I'm going to click on that and say, oh, yeah, that's my coffee with Barb event. Oh, perfect. Now, I'm going to delete that event because she canceled. So let's go ahead and edit this. Okay, now notice here, it's like, well, where's the delete button? Google's kind of gotten smart and realized they don't want to make it easy to delete an event. And that's not because they don't want you to delete events, it's because they don't want you to accidentally delete events. So right here in the more actions area is where I actually can delete this event. Okay. Other things you can do in more actions, I can print this out for those of you that want to kill trees, or those of you that want to have it on paper. You can use the print. I can also duplicate this event. So maybe I have a coffee with her tomorrow, and then I'm doing the same thing with her next Thursday. I can duplicate this. I can also copy these to other calendars. Right, so let's pretend that maybe I created it in this calendar, and it's like, oh, you know what? I need to actually put this in the other calendar. You can copy it to another calendar, so that's really handy. So I'm going to delete this, and guess what? It's going to say, hey, do you want to send cancellation emails? Yes, I do. Barb backed out. She was always unreliable. No, you wouldn't say that. Okay, you might, but we won't. Barb backed out, so I'm going to send that. And then now Angie's going to get an email that says, hey, this event's been deleted, and she's going to get a note that says Barb backed out. So those are the basics for creating a calendar. So we created a Google Calendar. We added an event to a Google Calendar, to that particular calendar. We changed the time. We learned about how to add other people to our events. One thing I want to show you is what if you want to share an entire calendar, right? So it's like, okay, we know that if I have an event, I can share that event with somebody as a guest. But what if I want to just say, look, my husband and I, we want to share a Google Calendar, so both of us can add stuff to it, right? Or my manager team, I want to create a calendar that's, hey, these are manager training events, or these are events that we're working. These are our Taste of Tupperware calendar, perhaps, whatever it might be. And you might want to say, hey, I want to bring 3 or 4 people in to manage this calendar. So I'm going to go here to Test Calendar, which is what we've been working with before. I'm going to click on this Options for Test Calendar. And then this time I'm going to go to Settings and Sharing. So you see that right there, Settings and Sharing. When I click on Settings and Sharing, I'm going to get, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do in here. I'm not going to go over all of this. But one of the things I like is I can share this with specific people. Okay, so I'm going to click on that, and that's going to scroll down to this area here. I want to share this with people. All right, who do I want to add? So I click on Add, and I'm going to hammer out email addresses in here. I'm going to pick an old email for Angie here. And then we're going to say, I'm going to add Angie to this calendar, and what permissions do I want her to have? Well, I want her to be able to see the events. No, she needs to be able to do more than just see the events. So I want her to be able to make changes to the event. Okay, or maybe I wanted her to be able to make changes and manage sharing. Okay, so what does that mean? That means not only can she make changes to the events, but she can also invite other people to make changes to those events. So I'm going to go ahead and give her total access to that calendar. And so I'm going to send that off. And now you can see that under share with specific people, you can see that she's listed up here as somebody who has the ability to make changes and manage sharing. And so that's how you can set up group calendars, perhaps for your teams or your units, to help manage particular things. Now, there's a whole bunch of other settings in here, like I said, that I don't want to go in right now into detail, because first of all, there's a lot of documentation online about Google Calendars and all of these settings, but mostly because I want to show you the other exciting thing about Google Calendars that I love, and that is Google Tasks. So it's a little difficult sometimes to find and see, but over here on the right-hand side of your Google Calendar view, there's this little icon right here in the top right that says Tasks. Okay, and what this allows me to do, so I'm going to simplify my calendar here for a second. So let me turn a lot of these off. And we'll leave my tasks on, but let's clear some of this other stuff up so we can see what's going on. And then let's go to today. So this is handy. So right when I'm in the calendar view, there's always a button that says today. Because how often do you say, I need to go to today? And if you had a paper calendar, you might have like a bookmark or something like that that takes you to today. Well, this is the same thing. I just hit today, and it's going to take me to today. And so simplified the view of the calendar here. So I'm going to open up the tasks. Now, what tasks are, this is sort of the difference between an event and a task. A task to me is something I have to complete by a certain time frame. So I have to get this done by this point in time, but I don't necessarily have to do it between the hours of 2 and 3. Right? It needs to get done. It's going to occupy some time, but that time might be spread out throughout the day. I might do it early morning. I might do it before bed, but it has to be done by a certain time frame. And so if I look at tasks here, I'm going to open up the tasks panel, and you'll see you get this lovely little panel that slides out, and you'll have a drop down up here. Now, you might not have a drop down with a whole lot of things in it because you don't have tasks yet. But as I come in here to task, what you'll see is you can create task lists. And so we're going to do an example here of a weekly close task list. So let's say you said, look, I want to make sure on Friday by 10 o'clock at night, I always get these things done for weekly close. So I've got this. I've created one titled Weekly Close here, but if you wanted to create a new one, you just click on Create New List and you give it a name. That's the whole process. So if I put in test here, now I have a task list that's called test, right? So there's that one, but I'm going to go to the one that's called Weekly Close. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a task to this. So the first thing I want to do on weekly close is maybe I want to go live on my Facebook page to talk about what is closing or ending for the week. All right, so I want to go live on my Facebook page to talk about what's ending for the week. That might be something I do every week for weekly close. And then down here, I can add in another task and another task. Now, as you can imagine, every week we have sort of generally the same things we do every week for weekly close. So what you can do is rather than typing these out all the time, you can actually copy and paste these in. And so I have just a Word file or a note. This is actually, I'm using notes on my Mac, but you can have these typed out. And then what happens if I come into this field and I paste it, it's going to create a list for me based on what I pasted in there. So each one of these things was just on a separate line in my note. I paste it in here, and it's going to create all of these items in there. Okay, so you can see here, I want to close all open parties. I want to make sure the hosts aren't missing any easy host bonus offers. So if I have a host that's only $20 away from getting something, I want to make sure I'm interacting and figuring out how to get that $20. I want to check my personal sales for weekly challenges, personal volume bonus, those sort of things. So this is what I want to make sure I do every week. So I'm going to have this as my a weekly close task, right? So I've created this task list. Now what I want to do is I want to come up here and I want to go to add a due date here. Let's add a date this Friday. So we want to make sure we're doing all of this on Friday. So notice right here, it's created a task here. So that needs to happen on Friday. I want to go live on Friday. Okay. Close open parties, yeah, that definitely that needs to happen on Friday too. But making sure hosts aren't missing any host bonus offers, I probably don't want to wait till Friday to do that. So I'm going to do that by Thursday. And I'm not going to go through give dates to all these, but you can see as I'm putting these dates in here for this weekly close task list, all those tasks are showing up on my calendar over here. So now when I come in, actually I'll give these dates real quick. Check personal sales. Let's go ahead and put that as a Friday thing. Let's say personal volume bonus. That might be a Friday thing. And what's this last one? Monthly goals. Let's make that a, whoops, wrong thing. Date. Let's make that a today thing just for fun. All right, so you can see that this task list is spread out over multiple dates, okay? But all of those are showing up here in my calendar. Now they don't show up down here in the hours. They just show up as things that need to happen that day. So why is this powerful? Because then when I come into my day and I come and I look at my daily schedule, I can make sure, okay, these things have to happen today. I don't go to bed until these are done because these have to get done today. Now, if they have to get done at a specific time of the day, then since it's a time-related thing, I'm going to have to add it to my calendar as an event. But these are just things that have to happen before I call it a day. Okay, so what does this look? Let me go back to the week view here. So what does this look like when I check these off? All right, so I'm going to say, oh, you know what? I already did this. So I'm going to check that off. So I checked it here. Notice it's still up here in my calendar, but it's crossed through, right? And if I come open this, I can see the things I've completed, right? So it's nice to be able to say, okay, I already did that, and I did this. I made sure that that's going on. So it's a good sense of accomplishment. You know, I'm getting stuff done. All right, high fives all around. And but I can also see, well, I did this, but I didn't do this yet. I didn't prepare for Tech Bootcamp. Well, why is that? Well, it's because that's in a different task list. Okay, no problem. Let's just click on this. All right, and I can say, I did prepare for Tech Bootcamp, and I can mark this complete. So I can interact with it in the list here, or I can interact with it over here in the calendar, which is super convenient to be able to do this. Another thing I really like about this is let's pretend that, let's say, as I'm building out this list, I say close all open parties. Well, how many open parties do I have? Let's say I have 3 open parties. All right, well, I'm going to go into close all open parties, and I'm going to say, you know what? I need to add some subtasks to that because I actually have more than one party. I have June's party, and then I have Bill's party, and then I have Sandra's party, and then I have Julie's party. Okay, so all of these are underneath close all open parties. So this is a really good way to come into this and say, you know what, I need to close all open parties, but I don't want to forget anybody. So then I can come in and say, all right, it's time to close these parties. All right, I'm going to go through. I did Sandra's, done. Okay, I did Julie's, done. I did June's, done. Bill's is the last one I have left. I'm going to go ahead and do Bill's. All right, I've got all of those done. Then I can say I've officially closed all open parties. That is complete. And now it's going to mark that off up here on the top. So it's a really good way. I really, really love task lists in the calendar. It's a good way to make sure you're not forgetting to do things. What I recommend that people do is to create a weekly close task list, to create a monthly close task list. And then, create that in Microsoft Word or Notes or whatever it is. Type it all out. Maybe talk to other people and say, hey, what are you putting on your list? What are you putting on your list? Put all those together and then get it into your calendar and see how it goes. See if that helps you keep track. Because one of the things I know is sometimes on closing night, especially month-end close, it gets hot and heavy, right? And the last thing you want to do is have it be 12:30 and then you realize, oh my gosh, I forgot to add such and such to somebody's party. Or, oh my gosh, I forgot to close this out. Not that happens a lot, but little things that can happen for that. I think those make good lists. I think onboarding is a good task list. So here's a fake one I created a long time ago. But I might want to have an onboarding task list that said, okay, did she receive her kit and review the contents? Did we talk about the open house plan? Did we canvass the neighborhood? Did we do a kit issue? Did I teach her how to make salsa? Did I go live on her Facebook page? So here's all of these things that you can help keep track of your onboarding for new consultants. Did I challenge her to sell 10 of the current sale items? Whatever it might be. And you go through and you check these things off so that on any given day, at any given time, you can come in and say, what's my onboarding like? Oh, you know what? I have to call Helen. We're not done. We didn't finish onboarding her. We didn't, do some of these things. So I think onboarding makes a good checklist. I think checklists for events are awesome. So if I have a vendor event that I'm doing on Saturday, I think it's a great idea to put a checklist, task list together for Friday. That is what's packing into the car. And what's great about these is they're mobile friendly. So there's a number of different apps you can put on your phone to interact with Google Tasks, which is part of Google Calendar. And so it's great to have your phone there, right? And as you're packing stuff in the car, you're checking it off. Yep, tablecloth, check. Host gift special, check. The kit for display, check. And you're able to do all that stuff with your smart phone as you're packing things into the car. So that is in a nutshell tasks for Google. Like I said, I think they're super, super handy to be able to use them. That is in a nutshell. I'm going to open up the calendars here so you guys can see them. That is in a nutshell Google Calendars, and at least in the way that I think that you can use it for your business. And we talked about search, how you can use search to find different things. The last thing I'm going to mention real quick are there's this add-ons feature here, and there are other software tools that you can use to actually add to your Google Calendar setup. I've never really used any additional add-ons. They also offer this thing here called Keep, which is like a note-taking interface. I don't use that either. I'm just more of a Google Calendar and Google Tasks user. So I think that's about it. So did we have any other questions? If not, I'm going to issue a challenge. Did we have questions? No questions? Okay, I guess no questions. All right, so challenge time. So if you recall, before I issued a Facebook challenge for last week for Facebook, and I'll post that online. But essentially, it is a screenshot showing that you went live on your Facebook. What I'd like to do here is a screenshot of a task list that is beneficial to your business. So creating a task list using Google Tasks that is useful for your business, or a screenshot of your Google Calendar. So if you look at task lists and you're like, you know what, that's not something I'm interested in, that's okay. If you're not interested in using Google Tasks, then you can use do a screenshot of your Google Calendar with some events in it, maybe parties coming up or those sort of things. Either of those screenshots will work, and share those screenshots with me, and we'll enter you into a drawing for a little gadget of some sort, some little Tupperware tchotchke, and then on top of that, the $10 gift card. I did have one question. Can you add tasks from your phone? Yes, you can. Like I said, there's a number of different apps that you can download from your phone to your phone to interact with Google Calendar. What you have to do is create your Google Calendar first, and then download one of the apps to add those tasks. But you can certainly interact with those. I use an app called, what is mine called? This is called G Tasks Pro. Now, Google has a Tasks app that you can download as well. This G Tasks Pro has a couple extra little features that I particularly like, but either of those should work wonders. So if there aren't any other questions, any more questions? Nope. All right. Then I'm going to let you guys get back to it. Thank you so much for joining me for Tech Bootcamp. And if you have any questions, hit me up. And if not, I'll see you all next week. Goodbye.